Look, the truth of the matter is that most people that run TRT actually do it either through a doctor or through a TRT clinic. That's most people. But there are other people who procure their testosterone otherwise, manage their own protocols, manage their own blood work, and therefore are doing TRT themselves. What I want to do in this video is break down the question, which is better, and more importantly, should you ditch your clinic, get the testosterone you need, run the bloods you need, and administer TRT yourself? There are pros and cons to both, and I want to break it down. Hey, look, in some cases, you're going to need the clinic, and you want the clinic. But in other cases, depending on what you're trying to do, the clinic is a bad idea. All right, before we get into the video, Look Cortex Labs, which is my company, is a TRT guidance, coaching, and products company. We built precision tools to show you how to get dialed in on TRT and do a lot of cool things on TRT. Our most popular product, hands down, lately has been High Dose TRT Mastery. It's an hour-long video course showing you how to mega dose test, get the anabolism of high doses, but also still achieve the libido and erections. People think if you go on higher doses, you lose all of that and you have to use an AI and manage estrogen all meticulously. You actually don't. I will show you how in this video course. It's 20% off and get it down below. Our company is one of the most sought out companies for TRT coaching and for TRT consulting, where you're working directly with me. The literal most common consulting options right now are the TRT protocol audits, a 25-minute call with me, an audit of your entire protocol and suggestions how to fix your biggest problems. And then secondarily, the TRT sexual function enhancement consult, specifically geared toward fixing libido and erection problems on TRT. You can book any of these in under minutelivecortex.com. You're on the call with me almost immediately, and then we begin. There are longer-term coaching programs, and those are 50% off for a 3-month one-on-one with me and a 6-month one-on-one with me. The code's on the screen and down the description of this video. All right, so let's talk about the pros. Let's talk about the pros of using a clinic, any one of the clinics that we've typically discussed and that are here in the United States for TRT. The first of them is kind of the lowest hanging fruit, which is it's legit, okay? If you're traveling, you can't get nabbed by TSA, generally speaking, in any weird contacts where, someone might find, like some illegal authority or something might find like testosterone vials. Well, it's legal. You have a prescription for it. You're allowed to have it. Secondarily, kind of grouped into that window of like legitimacy, a test from a clinic, which is coming from an American or whatever country you're in, pharmaceutical company, is going to be as pure test as you can get. So you don't have to worry about weird additives, it not being made or brewed properly, if you will. Some people will just pay the money and deal with all the stuff that the clinics have, like, getting labs and getting your physical and all this other crap, which we're going to talk about, just to ensure the legitimacy of what they're doing regarding TRT. Right? So that's number one pro. It's legit. Number two pro of using the clinics for TRT is there are things that they can get you. Testosterone cream. There are a few sources out there. I've decided not to put them on source list because I have not tested those products. But largely, you can only get test gel on the underground. You've got to, if you want test cream and you like the extra DHT, you like putting it on the scrotum, you like how it makes you feel, you like the quick rises, the peaks, and you're dialed in or know how to dial in on testosterone transscrotal cream, the clinics are your only shot at getting that. So that's number two pro to using the clinics is they can get you test cream. And in some cases, depending on the clinic, they can get you things like Anavar. Yes, literally Anavar in the United States is a prescribable medicine, oxandrolone, and some clinics in the States, depending on what your goals are, say a little extra anabolism on top of TRT, or complaining that libido, no matter what you do on TRT, is not up to par, and asking for Anavar, some clinics will actually prescribe it to you. There you've got a prescribed, legitimate, legal, pure anabolic steroid that you can use that your clinic prescribed to you, and it's legit. The Anavar that I have is actually prescribed from a clinic in the United States. Okay, so that's a pro. That's a pro. But otherwise, you're going UGL to find it, and it's questionable purity if you don't have the right sources. All right, number three pro with the clinics is, they do routine blood work and physicals, so it's all taken care of for you. You have to go and do it. You've got to go to Quest and draw the bloods, and you've got to go to, CVS or your doctor or wherever to get the actual physical. But, if you're conscious of that and you want to be aware of your health and you want to have it on a deadline rather than it being up to you and you kind of forget about it or put it by the wayside, at least you have that data. Okay, so that's pro number three. The clinics force you to get the health data. But the truth is about the clinics and the pros of using clinics for your TRT is like those are pretty much all the pros, right? There aren't many other pros. There are many cons, though, to using the clinic for TRT or a doctor. Number one con is what some people would consider a pro, the blood work and the physicals, right? In some cases, a lot of these companies make you do consultations every 6 months. So what is that? That's an extra cost to you that you got to pay out of pocket to do a consultation with a provider that, do they really care about dialing you in on TRT? You know, are they really that interested in your situation? These happen every 6 months. And so most people, if they're trying to dial in, do not wait 6 months, like in order to change a protocol. So you probably change your protocol many times in between. And now you've got to fill your provider like up to speed on what's going on through the consult. That's largely unnecessary because they really don't give a shit if you dial in or not. And they're overwhelmed with clients and they're just doing that as something that they kind of make a little extra money on the consults for. The blood work, yes, you should analyze your blood work, but do you have to do it every 6 months? Well, it depends on the situation. Do you have to do it on a deadline? The answer is no. You could do your blood work when you want, when you see fit, when you'd like to look at your blood work. And it doesn't prevent you, you know, if you're using the UGLs from acquiring more testosterone, right? With the clinics, you know, if you don't get your blood work in time, they have waivers for the first time or maybe even the second time if you want to stretch it out. But generally, then they stop prescribing you testosterone, right? That's it. Your treatment ceases if you do not comply with all of these rules. Like a physical. I mean, you know, it's just one of those added unnecessary rules that got added in sometime in the last year and some change. It's like, we're 40-year-old men. Like, really? We need physicals? We need to go get physicals to continue our TRT? I just think it's a little ridiculous, honestly. Number two con, you know, of using the clinics versus, you know, going UGL, we'll talk about UGL in a second, is like the dosing frameworks and the adjustment time. So first of all, you can, under their guidance, especially considering you're continuing to give them bloods, make the kind of adjustments you need to make. They're going to set you on a protocol. You and your provider may decide on the protocol if you're a more vocal, assertive person, but then you're not supposed to change the protocol. In fact, protocol changes have to be approved. Say you want to switch esters, okay? You've been running Cypionate for a while. You'd like to try testosterone enanthate. You can't just go on the provider's website and order it. You got to have another consultation, and they have to approve it. So another man or woman, in some rare cases, gets to decide for you whether or not you're allowed to use testosterone enanthate, even though testosterone enanthate may be better for your body. That is a serious con with using the TRT clinics. At the same time, you know, I mean, it's like they discourage you from changing your protocol. So if they put you on, you guys decide on a protocol that does not work for you. Some of these guys are actually brainwashed by the new age daily injection weirdo crowd to be sticking testosterone, which was meant to be put on our muscles, into our belly fat or thigh fat, doing it daily, which it was never meant to do. And there are only a few studies that suggest at least the serum levels go up, but it talks nothing about efficacy. Some of them will force you to do that. And therefore, if it's wrong for you, you have no libido, you have no erections, and you can't change your protocol. All right. That is a prison that some of us just do not want to be in. Third con with using the clinics, again, we're going to talk about UGL in just a second here, is limited availability. Okay, so you can get test Cypionate, test enanthate if they approve it. Testosterone cream, got it. These days, not many clinics have testosterone propionate. In fact, a lot of them have done away with testosterone propionate, so it's harder to find. You've got to get a select few clinics that actually have that. Their pharmacies have testosterone propionate. If you need Proviron, your clinic cannot help you. If you need Masteron, your clinic cannot help you. If you want to use some Primabon to get a little anabolism and then to block estradiol to dial in your sexual function on TRT, which is what we all need to do, your clinic cannot help you. All right, so let's talk about the alternative. The alternative is using the UGLs, which stands for underground labs. Now, the underground labs are places throughout, in rare cases, the United States, mostly overseas, which have testosterone, other anabolics, some certainly sketchy that you would never want to purchase product from, and others totally legit. Legit in a way where they actually create quality, pure products. The trick with UGLs is knowing which UGLs to use and getting familiar with some of the payment methods and how to execute orders, which is really easy. Takes like 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, depending on which company that you're using. And almost always you have to pay with cryptocurrency, which is, if you have Cash App, takes another 2-3 minutes. It's a little more cumbersome than entering a credit card, but you know, for the pros and cons, it ends up being worth it, and it's totally easy. So let's talk about the pros. Let's talk about the pros of UGL. Number one, anything you want. anything you want. If you'd like to try Proviron to get extra DHT input to try to sensitize the androgen receptors to reduce estradiol a little bit to dial in your erections on TRT, to get more androgenicity, well, you can just go buy whatever Proviron you want, hopefully from a legitimate source. And when it comes to your doorstep, you get to take it. Okay. Again, if you want to try Masteron because you've just struggled to dial in estradiol and therefore libido and erections on TRT, and you want some extra anabolism, but you think maybe Masteron will work for you because it certainly does work for people in dialing in, you could just go get Masteron, right? You could just go and order your Masteron propionate. It comes to your doorstep a week or 2 weeks later, and you're on your own. It's yours, and you have the freedom to be able to do that, whereas you're not getting Masteron from your clinic, okay? You're not. Same thing with Primo. And same thing with other anabolics. I don't necessarily suggest that people on TRT just go crazy, running other anabolic steroids. I mean, you want to do the research, you want to be educated, you want to follow channels like Vigorous Steve's channel, among others, and want to know what the hell you're doing, monitor your bloods and all that stuff. But if you want to run a cycle of whatever, you can just do it. You can decide to do it. You intelligently do cycle design or hire a coach like us or other people to do cycle design for you. And then you execute. You buy whatever it is you need and you start. Any ester, okay? If you want to switch from cypionate to enanthate, done. You just buy enanthate. It ships to your doorstep. You want to switch from cypionate, enanthate, or whatever to test prop, which is widely available on the UGLs. Boom, done. You just order test prop. It's at your doorstep 7 days later. Now you can take testosterone propionate. If you want to take testosterone phenylpropionate, okay, if you want to get test suspension, in some cases, some UGLs have this, you can do it. You order it. It comes to your house. You start the test suspension. That's it. So, I mean, the availability of compounds is substantially better with a faster turnaround time, by the way. With the UGLs, you get your stuff a lot quicker. Sometimes the clinics have to run through this process, which takes weeks and weeks, and it's just a whole rigmarole of bullshit. We'd rather just take it into your own hands. Number two, because there's no red tape whatsoever. It's just your decision making, and you get to try things and you get to start on trying those things. You can dial in a hell of a lot quicker. Okay. Again, this assumes that you find the right sources. This is why we built Source List and why, you should do your own research to find legitimate places to grab the stuff that you might need to optimize your hormone profile. You can dial in a hell of a lot quicker because everything works quicker. There's no red tape. There's purchase, ship to your doorstep. Purchase, ship to your doorstep. You execute your protocol. You don't need approval to change your protocol. Like if you're running something for 6 weeks, you've done the blood, you can tell it's obviously not working for you, and you have given it enough time, which you absolutely have to do, change it. You can change it without anybody's permission, without a consultation, and without submitting blood work and a fucking physical that's going to take you out of your productive life and like setting time aside to go and do this because it's a requirement. You don't have to do any of those things. You can just change your protocol yourself that day. Next pro with the UGLs is you will save money. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not telling people to do one thing or the other. This is purely for education, but in the end, you generally save money, right? You're doing less consultations, less physicals and shit like that. They mark up their stuff significantly, whereas if you're just going to a trusted UGL and grabbing some test 250, it's going to be cheaper. But what are the cons? What are the cons of the UGLs? Well, if you don't have the right UGL, then yeah, I mean, you might get less than pure product. You might, in some cases, I've never run into this personally, but you might get, in some cases, product that's supposed to be one thing and it ends up being something completely different, right? You tried to get Masteron and you got D-ball instead. Or your testosterone propionate, cypionate, or enanthate is not as pure as it could be, and therefore it's underdosed. You hear about these stories often. Again, I've never seen this happen to me before or any of my clients because we use a specific set of people and sources, but this can totally happen out there in the UGLs. All right, number two, you run the risk if it's an improperly managed setup where there's impurities and potentially things that can cause infection or otherwise worse in your body because they're not properly formulating their testosterone in an environment that is a clean room or clean environment. So you end up with stuff that can mess you up. Number three con with the UGLs is that in some cases, depending on what you're trying to get, you might have to wait for customs, okay? In some cases, like people getting like DHT powder, I've heard a lot of stories of it taking 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe a little bit more in some cases because of the customs wait. And then number four, your payment to them is not backed up by anything, whereas like your bank, you could execute a chargeback if you feel like you got scammed by somebody. But, when it comes to your cryptocurrency that you're sending somewhere else, well, that's your money. And you are out that money if you do not have a legitimate trusted source on the UGLs. This is why it's so important to have trusted sources for the UGLs. In the end, what it comes down to is freedom to maneuver, the ability or the inclination to change what you might want to change, dialing in at your own rate and being in charge of your protocol. If you go the UGL route, yes, you should do the blood work. You should look at your hematocrit. You should obviously look at your test, your free test, your total test, estradiol sensitive, DHT, if it's relevant to what's happening and you need to see it. CBC, CMP, monitor your blood pressure at home. Go get an echocardiogram every couple of years. These are important things to do, but you do it all on your time, on your time. Okay. If you want cream and you're willing to do all that other stuff to deal with it, the clinics and all their deadlines and shit, then fine, use a clinic. You're not going to get good quality cream anywhere else. But if you want to take control of your protocol, get whatever the hell it is you need, be on your own schedule, change things quickly, dial in quickly, have the availability of anything you want, then UGL is ultimately the best way. Now, what should you do is the final question. It truly depends on what your goals are. I'm not suggesting you do one thing or the other. I can tell you that right now for me, running Testy now 250 at 250 a week, I'm not using a clinic, right? I'm running my own blood work. I'm managing my own, I am buying my own testosterone from sources I'm procuring elsewhere. I don't have to worry about the headache of the clinic. But for you, listen, if you want testosterone cream or you'd like the structure of the clinics, stick with the clinic. It all depends on what you want to do. Look, this is why this is so important, why we put together Source List. It's been out in the market for probably about 1.5 years. No complaints so far, but because it's all trusted stuff. Yeah, I mean, you're going to find very, very high-quality anabolics, including Tastavol esters, Proviron, DHT, basically anything you want on Source List. That's why we built it. It is the list from which I am purchasing testosterone, where I've purchased like all the stuff basically that I've used, including AIs, Proviron, erectogenic drugs like tadalafil. Pretty much everything's on Source List. You can get that at livecortex.com or down in the description of this video. Look, we're a TRT Products company, and we've got a variety of products aimed to dialing you in on TRT for libido and erections specifically, but also well-being. High-dose TRT Mastery is the most popular product that we've ever launched, okay? It shows you how to mega-dose test. Get the libido and erections you definitely will not get at medium or lower doses of testosterone. Dial those in the right way, but at the same time enjoy sports TRT or cycle level anabolism. This can be years literally now. I'll even give you a discount code. It's 20 now. Saves you 20%. Go buy the course. Thank me later, honestly. If you've been playing with small TRT and you're tired of it, just get high dose TRT Mastery. But I wrote a digital playbook on mastering libido and erections on any ester, the frameworks you need to use to think about how to dial in sexual function on TRT. And you can download that in a minute at livecortex.com or down in the description. It's also 20% off. I got individual courses on testosterone cream for sexual function, as well as testosterone cypionate for sexual function. All these are down in the description of this video. They are video courses. And lastly, if you don't want to go at it alone, I mean, this is all we do. As a company, we are a results-driven company that cares a lot about getting people what they need in terms of sexual function and being dialed in on TRT. So you can hire me as a consultant and you can hire me as a coach as well to work with you one-on-one. The most basic level and pretty popular lately has been the TRT protocol audit. It still gets you a call with me, albeit only 25 minutes, where we'll dive into your protocol, analyze what you have, and give you advice on how to fix some of your biggest problems. We'll audit the entire thing. You can book this in under a minute, livecortex.com, and you're on the phone literally with me. However, for serious sexual dysfunction, erection issues, libido issues, you're going to want to at least book the TRT Sexual Function Enhancement Consult, because this gets you 45 minutes with me, significant deep dive, audit of everything, but then protocol generation that's targeted to you, as well as adjustment routes if you need to adjust upon the protocols that we initially suggest. These are very targeted and meticulous. This is the most popular consult that we have ever had. So if you have sexual problems on TRT, just book the consult. We'll get it squared away. However, for some of the real stubborn stuff, and especially if you have the budget and would like to work with me directly for 3 months or 6 months, we've got coaching. Coaching is different than consulting because it comes with ongoing support and adjustments, and you've got me in your corner for 90 days or 180 days. These are 50% off, so the 3-month and the 6-month coaching are 50% off with the code on the screen that saves you thousands of dollars. So that price is not the price. It's 50% less than that right now. You can book these in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, my brother in test. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Do me 2 favors. Like the video. If you're still here, it makes a difference. If you want to do me a favor, which I would like you to, hit the like button, hit the sub button. Yeah, jump on board, man. We've been talking about this forever. We're dialing people in. We're helping people and providing entertainment at the same time. I'd love to see you on board. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your day. And brother, I'll talk to you in the next one.